If you're thinking about moving and you want to learn about what everyday life is going to be like in your new town, this is the place for you. On Open House, we sit down with local, top producing real estate agents to help you find the best places to live in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you don't want buyer's remorse and you want to find your dream town, we are here for you. So go ahead and book a free call with us and we'll help guide you to the area that is right for you. Now, let's jump in and learn about your new home. All right, so if you're thinking about moving to Stafford, Virginia, but you're just not sure what it's like to live there, well, today I'm really excited because I've got Jessica Cole, who is an expert in Stafford, Virginia. She's a realtor who's on the #1 real estate team in Virginia. She's currently got what, 7 transactions that you're working on right now?
Yes, 8.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think for anybody who's doing 8 transactions a year, they're going to be incredibly busy. But to be doing that in September during the tail end of the year, that's pretty amazing. So Jessica is definitely a good person to talk to as it relates to real estate, being just in the trenches. And then, how long have you been in Stafford, like physically living there, Jessica?
Since 2015. So
2015. Okay, so we're coming up on like
7 years.
7 years, something like that. You got a local girl who can show you around. So,
Yeah.
Jessica, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? What kind of got you into real estate?
Sure, yeah. So this is a career change for me. And I really love real estate. I've always loved it. It kind of drives my husband crazy because I'm constantly looking at houses and even going to open houses before I was a realtor, just curious about the house, about the neighborhood. So I thought, why not join real estate and become a realtor and help other families find their home?
That's awesome. Are you the kind of DIY girl on what's that TLC kind of channel?
Yeah, HGTV. Yeah, I'm always looking at inspiration, and my husband is like always saying, "Oh man, what do you have coming up the pipeline next? What Pinterest idea are you looking to do next?"
I was about to say, before the call, we were talking about your cool office background and that you did that yourself. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was fun.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and dive right into Stafford, talking about the city of Stafford as opposed to the county, right? What is it like to live in Stafford? Is it a rural area? Is it city? Is it suburban? What's the culture of Stafford like?
So Stafford is very suburban. There's a lot of families here. 70% of our county or Stafford is made up of single family homes. So, lots of families. We typically divide it between north and south, and north is more of the suburban, communities that you have. And then South Stafford is a little bit more rural. So you have, houses with a bit more land, rural, not farming or anything like that, but definitely more spread out. So there's something for everybody, whatever you're looking for in terms of land and house and, whatever you're looking for.
Gotcha. Okay. And just curiosity, if there's a kind of a break between the north and the south of the city, is that because is there like a river towards the northern part of it, or is it just because proximity to DC? Like, do you happen to know why that is, that it's like divided that way?
So North Stafford is typically what we associate with Route 610. It's called Garrisonville Road. And so there's lots of communities and homes situated right around 610. And then we have Route 17 in the south part of the county, which is another major roadway. And so there's communities off of 17. So it's kind of split between those two roads.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's kind of just the way the traffic works and all that.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And has Stafford always been pretty suburban, or has it undergone any like recent transition, recent growth, recent changes in the demographics or the kind of the way the city is laid out in any kind of way? What's the recent history of Stafford, in other words?
Yeah. So since 2004, we've actually grown 50%.
Wow.
So it's grown a lot in the recent years, and I think that has a lot to do with our direct close route to DC. So we 95 and Route 1 pretty much run right through Stafford. And so we have a lot of federal workers that work here. We also have the Marine Corps, Quantico. Um, yeah, so that's right to our north. And so we have a lot of military families here, federal workers. And so it runs, like I said, 95 and Route 1 run right through us. And so I think a lot of the federal workers were looking for more affordable homes while also being able to easily commute to DC and Arlington.
Gotcha. They're gonna pick Stafford for those reasons. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yes.
Actually, that's brings up a question. How far is Stafford from DC?
So it's about 40 miles south of DC. We're actually pretty much halfway between DC and Richmond. Um,
Okay.
so it takes about 45 minutes to an hour to get to DC with no traffic. When 95 gets a little bit hairy, it's a different story. But we
Sure.
have the VRE also, and we have the express lanes on 95. So if you hop on the express lanes, you can get to DC pretty quickly.
Yeah, and 45 minutes, that's not too bad. I used to drive 45 minutes very regularly for my commute.
Yeah.
And that's like the perfect time to like knock out a couple chapters on an audiobook or whatever.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And that actually ties in nicely to my next question, which is what's the economy like in Stafford? Are most people commuting into DC, or a lot of people going into Quantico for the Marine Corps base there? Where are people typically working? Is it commuting or is it local?
Yeah, it's a pretty good mix of both. We have a lot of federal workers, and then a lot of military families here, just because of the base. So I think it's a pretty good mix of both. And those are the two biggest, I think, employers of the area.
Sure, that makes
Yeah.
sense. How does having so many like military and federal workers kind of influence the culture? Does it? Do you have like a mix of people who are a lot of like out of state, people from like other countries? What's the kind of the demographics like?
It's a good mix. It is a good mix of different people from different areas. Just because the military brings in a lot of different people, but it is very family based in the area.
And speaking of families, everybody who's got a family, myself included, I've got three kids, 4 years old, 2 years old, and one. So I'm definitely very interested in the schools, and I'm sure
Yeah,
anybody watching this video is going to be interested in that as well.
yeah,
What are the public schools like, and what are the private schools like?
yeah. So we have 5 public schools. A sixth one is to be built soon. They're working on the plans for that. We have 8 middle schools and 17 elementary schools. We have a few private schools in the area. There are some more private schools to our south. The ones that we have in the area mainly focused on the elementary side, preschool, kindergarten, and elementary. There's one that's, kindergarten through 12th grade. And then we have Fredericksburg Christian, which is in Fredericksburg to our south, that has all the grades. But the schools are really great. I have 4 kids. They all go to the public schools here. And I think overall we have a B+ rating for schools. So, I think I haven't had any complaints, and, my kids have been in the public schools for years. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, it's great to be able to have like that good mix. So if you're interested in one type of education for your kids, you've got that. If you like a different, you got some options there. So
Yes. Yes.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
And as far as like what you're gonna do after work and what you're gonna do after school, what's the entertainment like in Stafford? Do you got a lot of restaurants, bars? What do you have in the
Yeah.
area?
So we have lots of breweries. We have a couple in Stafford. There's more in Fredericksburg, just to our south. We have wineries. We have lots of restaurants, lots of great restaurants here.
What are some of your favorites?
So I love Robiolina. It's a Italian restaurant here in Stafford. There's also Mason Dixon Cafe, which is really popular. It's just like, great Southern American food, really comfort food. And there's Vinny's there, pizza and pasta and all the good stuff. And then we have some really great non-chain restaurants in Fredericksburg, in downtown Fredericksburg. And they're really top-notch restaurants. So they're awesome for date nights and get-togethers and things like that.
Man, I wish I could remember what the name of this barbecue restaurant is in Fredericksburg, but I drive regularly an hour and 45 minutes from where I live to go to eat barbecue there. Do you happen to know the restaurant that I'm thinking of?
I'm trying to think.
I'm gonna put a picture of it in just
Okay.
a second so people can see that.
Okay.
But yeah, I can definitely attest to some of the good food that's over there.
Yeah.
How about you had mentioned a lot of breweries and distilleries and things of that nature. Do you happen to remember any of the names of those places that people could visit?
Yeah. So one of the most popular, I think, in Stafford is Barley Naked. They're right off 610. They have a lot of events. They have family events. They have date night events. They get food trucks there, music. It's really fun to go and hang out there.
That's awesome. Is it just in the summertime that they've got music, or is that a regular thing throughout the year?
No, they have outdoor seating and they put heaters out. So they have live music year round. It's really fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And as far as maybe like folks who don't have kids, but they've got maybe cats or dogs or horses or other types of pets, what can people do with their pets in the area?
So we have a couple dog parks. I know that there's one privately owned, like 2-acre, I think it's 2-acre dog park. You can rent like 30 minutes to an hour and take your dog there to grass. There's a creek that runs through there. So, you can take your dog there and play. There are I believe there's some horse areas. It's not, again, to our south in Fredericksburg and Spotsylvania County, there's more. But yeah, there's lots of places for dog lovers.
All right, cool. And I guess that kind of ties into the nature question as well. Is there like rivers or trails or places where people can kind of, experience the great outdoors close
Yeah.
to Stafford?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have 16 parks, which is I think a lot. I don't know, but we have 16 different parks. Yeah. We have walking trails throughout the parks. We have a couple different lakes in the area that you can swim at or boat. And then we have Potomac River. You can access the Potomac River through Aquia Landing, and you can access the Rappahannock River through the Port of Falmouth in our south. So lots of swimming, lots of river beach areas, hangout places. So it's really, there's something for everybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say Rappahannock again. Taking my kids many times out to there and
Yeah.
just hang out.
Yeah.
Try to cool off in the summertime.
Yes.
And what about any like special local events? Do you guys have any county fairs, festivals, races, holiday events? You tell me. What do you got?
Yeah. So we have a Stafford Christmas Parade. We have the Fred Nats. The Fredericksburg Nationals are the minor league team to the Washington Nationals.
Oh, okay.
And they just built a stadium in Fredericksburg a couple years ago. And it's really easy to get to. It takes about 15-20 minutes to get there. But they have a lot of events there. Of course, baseball games during the season. Jeff Dunham recently performed there. One of the local breweries is hosting the first annual Fredtoberfest there.
Oh, cool.
So they're going to have lots of food, lots of activities. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And there's Riverside Theater to our south in Fredericksburg. They have dinner shows. They have lots of shows that they put on there, so that's a lot of fun to go to. Also, we've taken a couple field trips with the kids there, and then the dinner shows, which you can have date night there and see a great show. So that's yeah.
I don't think I have heard of a place where you can get dinner shows. Period. I mean, I've like, yeah, heard of a lot of different places in around DC, but that's kind of a combination that you just don't see very often. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So how about we talked about the nature. We talked about the trails and parks that you guys have.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about the real estate specific questions that folks typically have. Maybe firstly, like what kind of homes can you see in the area? You mentioned that there's like 70% of single family homes, which is actually, in my opinion, that's a lot of single family homes.
Yeah.
And maybe that drives down the price of single family homes. I don't know. You tell me. But just in general, what are the different types of homes that you can expect in Stafford?
Yeah, so we have a variety. I mean, we have the single family homes, of course, townhomes, condos, some apartments. But yeah, I think compared to our northern counties, I think Stafford is, relatively cheaper to live. With that said, I think the median home price is right around $500,000 to $600,000. I think it's, a great place to live just because of the proximity to DC and then the Quantico base.
Sure. Yeah, and $500,000 to $600,000. I mean, like that may seem high to some folks, but I think the reality is there's like probably a big range in between. That's kind of the hard thing about median
Yeah.
wages is that like, hey, this is kind of like where you are,
Yeah.
but relative to homes that might be what $600,000 to $700,000,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit further north. Perhaps you're getting that $50,000 to $100,000 cheaper. Is that kind of what you're getting at, or?
Yeah. It's a little bit less expensive to live here versus, like Fairfax County or Arlington or places north.
Sure.
Yeah.
And as it relates to, let's say, you mentioned 500,000. So, what do you like? What kind of house can you expect for 500,000 in terms of like maybe square footage,
Mhm.
bedroom, bathroom, composition, acreage? What are we looking at when we're thinking about a $500,000 house?
Yeah. So in North Stafford, you could pretty much get a $500,000 house with 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. The lot sizes are smaller in North Stafford. So you're looking at anywhere from, an eighth of an acre to like a quarter acre. But I think you can get a pretty good size house anywhere from like 2,500 square feet to, 4,000 square feet. I think it's a pretty great size, and especially for families, growing families.
Yeah, no, that sounds like really pretty healthy to me,
Yeah.
in terms of what you're going to get for your money. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. And, I know that you'd moved to Stafford, you said in 2015.
Yes.
So, with that being said, you've been there for 7 years. What were some of the reasons for moving to Stafford in the first place versus maybe some of the other places that you could have landed? And why do you live there currently now?
So we moved here because my husband works in Arlington, and it was an easy commute for him. And the homes were more affordable. So we moved here initially for that reason. We do have family that lives in the area, so that was a plus also. And we stayed because we love the area. I love Stafford County. My kids have made really great friends here. I think the schools are great. We moved initially in 2015. We moved again in 2020, and we just bought 10 minutes down the road to another location. So, I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good testimony to a place being a really good fit is when you're buying multiple times in the same area.
Yes.
You got one part of it definitely right, and you just need to get a little bit more space or a little bit more elbow room or what have you.
Yeah. Yeah.
As far as in every place there's different things to look out for, right? Maybe in some places there are tax differences based on where you live. Maybe there's safety concerns in one part of town or another. Maybe in Baltimore, it's sometimes things change street to street. So when you're thinking about moving, when you're thinking about counseling a new
Mhm.
buyer, especially out of state, in their decision making process, especially as it relates to moving to Stafford, what's maybe a tip or two that you could share for someone who's in that position?
So I mean, I think that the Stafford as a whole is very safe. We have an amazing sheriff's office who's really involved in the community. They regularly hold updates in terms of safety concerns or just general information for the county. And I don't know that there's really any one location that I would avoid. I think, the Stafford as a whole is great. There are certain communities that, people may favor over others just based on the layout and the homes and things like that. So for anybody, interested in Stafford, if they're able to, I would recommend driving through Stafford just to look at the different communities and see what piques their interest in terms of location and homes and neighborhoods.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, and
Mhm.
I think that in general, it's really important to have a person that you can talk to who at least is going to be able to give you a lay of the land in
Yeah,
terms of, hey, what can you expect over here? What can you expect over there? Because otherwise, you might be driving the town for days and
yeah,
not know necessarily where you should land. So
yeah,
there's a lot of time saving components to working with a good local agent.
yeah,
So we talked a lot about the culture. We talked about the history, a little bit about not so much the history, but I'll say that again. So we talked a lot about the economics. We talked about the culture, what you can expect in Stafford. Is there anything that maybe we're missing, or anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to share about the city?
Sure. Yeah. So actually the history, which is pretty cool. I had to do a little bit of digging just because I wasn't super familiar with the history. But I did find out some really interesting things. So Stafford, the southern part of Stafford, what we call Ferry Farm, was actually George Washington's boyhood home. So he grew up there. There's a Ferry Farm you can go to. They have a replica of his home, so you can take a guided tour through the area and just kind of see, what it was like for him to grow up there. So that's really neat. Pocahontas apparently lived here.
All
So
right.
that was cool to find out also. Um, and it was named after Staffordshire, England. So that was, I just knowing the history of Stafford was really interesting to look into.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's one of the neat things about living close to DC in some ways. You're gonna, you dig an inch deep and you're gonna get like a mile's worth of history. So that's super cool. Well,
Yeah.
again, if you're interested in moving to Stafford or really anywhere around the Northern Virginia area, definitely give Jessica a call, send us an email, because we're helping people every single day buy, sell, move into the area. And you're definitely going to find a real resource in real estate in general, but specifically in Stafford and the surrounding areas with Jessica. So thanks, Jessica, for the time, and looking forward to
Yeah.
talking to you soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was an honor.